going to have a prenup, you might as well just say that you're getting divorced in a couple of years.
It's quite an unromantic notion to raise with your respective other half and your potential spouse. That's the immediate problem. And then beyond that, it's quite an aggravating factor sometimes if you're trying to raise it with the parents of your other half or the wider family members. But certainly, and part of it is to do with some of the press that's recently reported cases where there have been prenups in high-profile celebrity divorces, and they've been relevant. But it's certainly becoming more and more of a topical issue. Also, what's driving prenups forward is the fact that there is huge disparity in a lot of couples' wealth when they're coming together in a marriage. If you're dealing with professionals who are marrying, then perhaps that's not so much the issue. But if you're dealing, if you like, for a moment with somebody who's accumulated quite a lot of wealth at a relatively young age and marrying a counterpart that doesn't have the same wealth, then parents are also saying to me that we want to protect our son's interests, for example, or our daughter's interests. We're agreeable to the marriage. We're not saying that we think it's destined to fail or that there are fundamental underlying problems here. But what we want is a safeguard. And so prenups are becoming more and more fashionable, are becoming more and more of a topic of conversation.
What's your take on prenups? Do you think that it is a wise decision for a couple to make?
I think where there is a disparity in wealth or there are other fundamental issues that they would need to have resolved in a particular way should the marriage break down, then prenups are definitely a must in that type of situation. It's unromantic to suggest that a prenup needs to be looked at like any business transaction. You wouldn't go into a transaction without making sure that you've anticipated possible pitfalls and what would happen to resolve those disputes that might arise. And a prenup can be viewed and should be viewed in quite the same way. And so there should be no suggestion that it's unromantic or suggesting it means that you're not confident about the marriage.
Well, who's instigating the prenup? Is it usually the woman or is it the man? Or is it just the person who has more money?
Yeah, my experience is it's the person that has more of the money because, of course, they have a lot more to protect. The legal system in the UK is such that the prenuptial agreement isn't enforceable. But increasingly, the courts are starting to hold it as persuasive evidence. If the marriage fails fairly quickly after it's been entered into, then the prenuptial will be relevant. If, however, children arise from that marriage and the marriage fails many years later, then the prenuptial, as the law stands at the moment, wouldn't be enforceable and probably wouldn't be persuasive. There'd be other factors that the court would look at. But I'm getting increasing inquiries, not just from the wealthy counterpart, the potential spouse, but I'm also getting inquiries, as I say, from parents of the potential wealthy spouse, because they're wanting to protect their interests. If there is a business that's being passed down generation by generation, that's one way of trying to safeguard that and keep that within the original family network.
Why do you think there's been this rise in the last 10 years with more and more Asians coming forward and just saying, I'm not happy in this marriage, so I don't really have to stay?
My experience of what I've seen over the last 10 years would suggest that there's a combination of reasons for that. There's less of a stigma attached to divorcing and separating, and that is meaning that people are feeling more able to want to move from a marriage in which they're unhappy. I think there's also been a conflict in expectations. People's expectations have changed over the decade, and there's increased incompatibility arising from that as well. There also seems to be more intolerance. 20, 30 years ago, my parents' generation, for example, would tolerate a lot of perhaps what I myself wouldn't put up with. But now the younger generation are saying, well, that's not good enough.
Well, do you think the younger generation is taking it a step too far and, enter into a marriage and think, okay, well, it should be like that Bollywood song and it should be a fairy tale. We should be having picnics in the park and, holding hands all the time. Do you think that the younger couples that are coming to you to get divorced, is their whole idea of what a marriage is supposed to be too romanticized?
I think there are aspects of that. There is a sense of unrealism about marriage and the domesticity that goes with that. And some of that is, I think, that people are still marrying relatively young. There isn't really any training. Our society and our communities aren't catered for training people in what's expected in a marriage and what will they will encounter. I think it's changing. I think there are more role models than there were 10 years ago. but still couples are coming into a marriage with unrealistic expectations. And there is a lot of romanticism around what a marriage will be. There's a lot of focus on the wedding day, there's a lot of focus on the honeymoon arrangements and various things like that. But in terms of what happens beyond that, there's very little attention.
Mr. Chaudhry, what do you think about the stigma that Pakistanis have to deal with when they get divorced? Do you think there is a big stigma?
Culturally, yes. But religiously, I think Pakistan, of course, follows Islamic religion. And Islam is one of the very old religion in the sense that it allowed the divorce on very compatible sort of grounds. And it provided the full remedy for divorce. So people under the cultural norms feel in that way that divorce is a stigma. But religiously, it provides the remedy there.
Right,
So
right.
They shouldn't be looking. But unfortunately, people always take refuge under the religion, you see, and they blame everything for the religion. The religion doesn't allow, religion says this.
It's actually a cultural thing,
Yes,
more
it
than a
is
religious
more
thing.
of the cultural side. But like all other developing societies, people are accepting it's the fact of the life, you see, in that aspect. So, I mean, it's coming up in that way, more and more so.
This is a very interesting topic. We have loads more to get through. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Sure.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Sanyya Gardez. You're watching Broken Silence. The issue at hand today is marriages. Asian households across the globe discuss this at the dinner table on a very regular basis. Joining me is Kuldeep Hira from Asian Single Solutions and Hitesh, who runs Shayona Speed Dating. Kuldeep, let's just start with you. What are these events like? I've never been to one of them. Is it really laid back? Is it really structured? What kind of people are coming there?
It's a variety of people. You get a variety of professionals that come there. We've had teachers, we've had solicitors, we've had bankers there, and also people perhaps who may have been separated or divorced, who work in a professional capacity, but also are looking there for their potential next partner. In terms of the structure, there's various themes. For example, they've done casino events. We also have the option of speed dating if people wish to speed date. But again, that's very optional. Not everybody wants a speed date, but also it's an opportunity where people can network. Often people meet people who may be working in similar careers. They may have had similar experiences, for example, domestic violence or experience other issues. And you get a chance to actually network and also speed date if you choose, but also other things I think come off that in terms of people developing their social circle and also developing their self-confidence and self-esteem if they've experienced previous issues.
So are the people that are coming to these events, are they quite serious about finding a partner, or are they just there for a little bit of a laugh, a couple of drinks?
I think you get a mixture. There are people who are very, very serious and very committed about what they're looking for, and they are very, very serious in terms of the criteria and the types of people that they want to be networking with. And often you get those people, sometimes potentially, who are there for a bit of fun. But again, it's about being, civil and being mindful about what you're looking for,
right.
And also being mindful of, some of the potential cowboys
right.
that do come. But I think you've just got to be clear in
you
your
just
own
call
head.
them cowboys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clear in your own head about what your objective is,
right.
and what you want out of the events,
right.
And also what your agenda is really. Because with any situation, you're going to get people who are, are there to just gate crash, or they've heard about it and they want to come along. And there's others who are really, really committed, and they want to meet their ideal partner, or they want to make friends and develop their social circle.
Sure.